This podcast is intended for adults only. We do not condone the use of any illegal substances, and anything we consume is for educational purposes only.
Because, we should be afraid of a plant that grows from the ground. And, endocannabinoid system is, it's in your body and it produces cannabinoids. I mean, you know what? I'm going to stop because I'm going to rant. Just play the music, Mitch.
I'll be there right by my side, man. What a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, build an enterprise, move supersize. Y'all lecture like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too dope, they rewind us. All my talk is lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.
Gang, highest in the room, yo, we get fucked up. Hey, you can count on Trey, bring the loud pack. Hey, get us in the stew and that's good.
You're listening to the Canna Kuyas podcast, where we are cultivating conversations concerning cannabis, culture, and creativity. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Mitch Narito.
And I am Erick Esteban. And sitting with us is a very special guest. You might know her from her very successful Highly Angie on Instagram. But it's the highly crafty, highly funny Angie Stocker. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the pod.
Yay, thank you. Hi.
How's it going? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm like, yay, baked like a pie. This is great.
She's baked like a pie. What we did this afternoon. Well, let's first talk about the first live that we did together on Instagram. Mitch, you weren't a part of that, unfortunately, because you weren't here that day. But I gave you some plants.
Oh yes! Oh, those bastards.
Because,
yes.
let's first give a history. Tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
I gave you just your history on Instagram, and there's so much more to you. You're a comedian. You're a mom.
I am a comedian.
So many things.
I am a canna mom. I am an entrepreneur. Highly crafty. But I've also always, through all of that, no matter what I've been, I've been a smoker. I've always loved cannabis, plant. I love it. And the more that I got educated, the more that I wanted to know more.
Yeah. So tell us a little more about yourself. Like, where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Illinois, Springfield, Illinois. Okay. Lived in Chicago too, but Springfield is hometown. Yeah. So, capital Midwest, it was not like, I was always one of those kids who was like, I should have been born in New York or, in a big city or somewhere where it's like, stuff is happening, moving, shaking, not like this town. So that was always kind of...
Like, what was your population?
It was a big... I think there was like 100,000 people, but...
that's still in relation to like Chicago, New York, or LA.
Exactly. Even St. Louis. Like, we had to drive to St. Louis to go to concerts because the big ones in
even
Springfield,
or
like
else.
Airports. Yeah. It was at least an hour and a half to St. Louis or a couple hours up to Chicago. So it just was like, my life is supposed to be metropolitan. Like, there's public transportation involved in my life. Okay.
Yes.
So as soon as I turned 18, I kind of was like, okay, bye Springfield. And I lived in Charleston, South Carolina. I went to college there for a little bit because I have family there. Then I was went back to Illinois for a little bit so I could save up money because I wanted to go to New York. Mm-hmm. So I went there for a little bit, did a film and television acting conservatory.
Nice.
I did that and then ended up going to Chicago, and that's where I met my husband. So I was there for a little bit, but Chicago was not ever my kind of city. It's just I love it. It's wonderful. I don't like being frozen. Mm-hmm. I don't like wearing tights underneath my jeans.
Yes.
No long
just
johns?
so that I don't, or long, I don't want bulkiness. 3 months of the year, I'm just walking around. Yeah. I'm in a fucking snow. And
it's even worse.
It took a toll on me.
There wasn't polar vortex when we were growing up. That wasn't a thing.
No, I don't know what happened.
5-10 years ago, but some polar vortex is now.
It's the whole Lakeshore Drive froze over. It's okay, let's remove ourselves. So that's, we moved out to LA 12 years ago, I want to say. And I'm okay,
Okay. And
Home.
and then, so what about your history with weed? Like, when did you start smoking?
Oh, when I was 14, probably. Like, I was with my brother and his best friend, and they took me as like they had girlfriends in some like small town, like neighboring town or whatever. And they were going to go see their girlfriends, but they took me as like collateral. Like, we promise we're going to be good, you know? So my mom was like, all right, take your sister with you, you know? And
Yeah.
see what you can get into, right? And of course she didn't know that I'm like, weed? Yes, please. Like, I remember I like came upon some seeds when I was probably like 12 or something, seeds and stems that my mom must have taken from my brother. And I was like, score! Thought it was weed, tried to smoke it, lots of popping and crackling. And I was like, I don't think that this is it. But then when I was 14 and they were taking me with them, they had rolled a blunt and they let me hit it like a couple of times. And I just remember like sticking my head out the window like a dog, like, oh my God, the air feels so good. Oh, my mouth is so dry though. Like, loved it. And then as I got older, it was just like whenever I had, whenever I had money to buy it, I always had it. And then once I moved out to LA, I was like, oh, edibles are a thing? Okay. Started getting into the edibles and worked in a dispensary for a while. And that's where I really got like educated. Like, oh, we have a whole system in our body that is made for this plant?
Which is, how is it pronounced, Angie?
The endocannabinoids.
See?
What?
I'm not. No, because we've had issues.
See?
No, because he said, the first time I said endocannabinoid, this fool said yabba dabba doo.
No, yeah, I thought it was just Fred Flintstone.
Making up words.
I was making up words trying to sound smart. But now I have somebody official who knows how to and worked in the dispensaries who says and officially validates my pronunciation of cannabinoid.
Okay, so all right, so for the both of you, because break it down for me. What is this system? What is this?
The endocannabinoid system?
Endocannabinoid.
Yeah, so it's a system of receptors. You have CB1 and CB2 receptors, and they are in your brain. And they are basically so these different cannabinoids can plug into these different receptors to relieve, because they're all throughout your body. So there's a lot in your brain, but they're also in your gut and all throughout your arms, your legs, your face, everywhere. And they could plug into all these receptors and alleviate pain or relieve stress, or depending on the combination of cannabinoids that you have and, the strength of them, they can be helpful for an array of reasons. But it helps if you know that, because then you can tailor your experience. So then when you're buying or growing or whatever, you kind of know oh, this makes me feel this way because of it's got, it's got CBN or CBG,
So
cannabinoids.
Now I see why I needed somebody smarter to be able to come over and explain, because I couldn't have told y'all the receptor stuff. I wouldn't have been able to explain that to you.
On Instagram, I do a lot of videos that kind of distill all this information down in a fun way. Where are CB1 and CB2 receptors located in your body? Boop, boop, boop. Fun little trendy things like that. But it's also just, once you learn it, it's oh, that's why that happens.
It makes sense.
Works together.
And so you picked up most of this knowledge from working in the dispensary?
Yeah, from working in the dispensary, we did a training, but also just educating myself, finding things, hearing tidbits and then being no, I got to research this. What are you talking about? Because I'm curious, very curious.
And especially curious. And I got so curious when I was watching all your videos on Instagram, and I was like, you know so much about this. Because I was in my YouTube university mode when I was learning how to grow. Yeah. So, and I came across your videos because we had done comedy shows together and we had done stuff together. And I kind of want to give you this little special intro, because we had Kalia, who's a mutual friend of ours, but we also had my friend Keith Pedro, another comedian, on, and you're the third guest on our show. But you're a very special guest because you're going to be a recurring guest, because you're the first comedian who I got to start growing.
Yeah, I'm trying to grow my own.
Because what was so intriguing to me was you knew so much about weed, and you always smoked weed, and it was so prevalent on your Instagram, but you weren't growing.
Because, I tried 3 times and it did not work.
And then I gave you some plants and they turned out to be male.
And I was so proud of myself because I was like, okay, I got, my friend, my other coworker gave me like her old tent. So I was like, boom, her old light and stuff. I was like, oh, I'm ready. I'm about to grow these nuts. And then I'm like, hey, Eric, when are they going to start? And he's like, oh, I can already tell those are dudes. Bitch, what?
Yeah.
I just feel so deceived. It's like, you let me care about you. You knew you wasn't gonna do nothing. And you I feel like they should give you a sign.
Now we have to kind of tell the backstory behind the plants that I gave you. So I went to the dispo and I was trying to buy some autoflower plants just to get my photoperiod plants, which are we'll get into it. But there are 2 different types of plants.
Okay.
There's the photoperiod plants, which you have to set to 18.6 for the first part of their life. It's the vegetation part of the life, 18.6. Mm-hmm. But then when you want them to start flowering, getting those buds that you want, you flip it to a 12-12 light cycle. Those are photoperiod plants. An autoflower plant, you can just put into the ground. You can put it on your windowsill if you wanted to. Or you can light it in a tent for 24 hours straight and just blast it with light. And it will grow up and grow and it will start to bud automatically. Okay. Without switching it to 12-12. So those are the 2 differences. Those plants that I gave you were autoflowers. Unfortunate thing was that seed pack was a regular pack of autoflower seeds. So what that means is they're regular. So that whole pack of seeds is just the first round of autoflowers that they got. They didn't feminize those seeds. Oh. So what that means is you could have some some feminine plants, or you could have some male plants. That's because they're the regular. It's just a regular seed. But,
so like if you're just growing them, you have no chance of knowing.
There are there's places where you can snip the leaves on your seedlings and send them in, and they can tell you whether they're male or female. There's actually now some home test kits that you can order. There's a whole bunch of stuff now if you want to invest the money in that, or you can just grow them out. But so part of me, like I'm now at that point in my growing where if I did want to grow out some regular seeds to breed them out and see if I could do my own seed type of thing, I might do that, but it also be, do I want to invest the $50 or whatever it is to test these if they're male or female? No. Or do I want to grow these out for 2 months and invest probably close to $50, maybe $30 in nutrients and my time and everything else to grow these out to find out whether they're male, which is more, it's basically what do you want to do with your time? For me, I'm probably just going to grow them out because I want to just grow them out because I like to learn how this plant grows out, even if it's male or female, and then figure it out and separate it or put them together to breed them, whatever that is, because that's what they do in the wild. Right?
They just let them dust each other and then
they just grow, right? And then their point is the part of the reason why the terpenes are so sticky, why all those terps when like one of the breeders that I've been listening to, they said that your best weed is the weed when you grow the female and males together, because then the females can sense the males in the environment. So they're going to increase their size. They're going to want all the pollen. So they're going to increase all the terps. They're going to increase all the oils because they want to catch all the pollen that they can sense the male that's nearby. So you're going to get the best bud. So then you cut.
But then it'll have seeds?
Yes, some. Okay. But the thing is most males, like, and this is just from my experience, they were smaller. Yeah. Than those 2 tall females that you saw outside. Mm-hmm. Those are females, and then the males, when I cut them down, they were about mid size. Mm-hmm. So you're really only pollinating. They're going to pollinate in the air, right? Mm-hmm. And they're hoping to pollinate the mid and all the plant. But most of the time, it's usually just you're lucky if you get seeds. But those buds that you do get seeds with, and this is just from my accounts from breeders and different things. 'Cause I myself haven't tried.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be as scared then because I still haven't. I've been keeping my male plants because I want to do crafts with the leaves, and so I'm like, oh God, should I be worried?
Because I told you finished the job. Yeah. You grew the plants out to have them flower and show their sex. And they grew to, and I saw, it was so apparent that they were male and the buds were so big as male, the male flower or whatever you want to call it. Guys, I don't know the scientific term for it, but if you call it that male flower, I could see it so apparently, but they were so big on the top of your thing. So had they been female, they would have looked just like those plants outside. So you finished the job. You did what you were supposed to do. You just only had one plant. So you're good. These plants I'm giving you now, you're going to get some photo periods because you got a tent and you can do that. And you can limit the light when it's time to. Yeah. And then you have the autoflower, which you can just put outside on your porch and grow out
and see what happens.
Or if you want, like you were talking about buying another tent, buy another 2x4, put it in there. And
maybe I will do one outside. So then that way the kids can help me keep an eye. I would keep an eye on the one in the tent too, but.
No, but yeah.
Then we can do, it's like an experiment. Like, oh, what's the difference in the one outside?
One, it's especially cool for the autoflower outside because you'll be able to watch as the flowers, because in about 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
This is going to grow to the point where you're going to see the start of flowers on the bud. And then you'll see how it expands and grows. Like I remember when you were tripping about the mint jelly that we can talk about in a minute. Yeah. But when you came to get those males that I gave you, but those were still just starting to bud. And you're like, oh my God, you got
they're like little,
yeah. So you'll see that on those, and then you'll on that wedding cake, and we'll see how it goes.
I'm excited,
because I'm going to grow one. I have one with you, so I'm going to grow along with you. So we'll have. If you have questions, I'll probably have those same questions.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And that's going to be another part of the pod. You're going to follow along on both mine and Angie's grows, and Mitch is going to ask all the questions because
I've been very silent because one, I'm very stoned. But no, like it's fascinating because just for new people that are coming in, I don't grow myself. I consume. And I consume it in decent amounts. And this part of the podcast for me is foreign, but not really, because like I see it firsthand, and it's fascinating for me because there is a science to it, and you guys just being nerdy with it is like it's amusing to me because like people connect on different levels, and like this is just another way that we connect on this podcast. It's just. It's a trip because as someone that hasn't tried to grow, I get all of my weed from the dispensary. So that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about today.
Because you have a job in the dispensary.
I just got I used to work at one for like over a year, but I just got a new job, so I'll be starting that pretty soon at a new dispensary. So we'll see if this place hopefully is better.
Okay, because I've never worked in a dispensary myself, but I have ideas of how things go. And you can tell me if
let's see.
Okay, because one of the things that we were talking about is the difference between homegrown weed versus what you buy at a dispensary,
which is what we're going to talk about towards the end of this podcast. So stay listening because we're going to review from these two connoisseurs or cannosaurs of cannabis. That we're going to review my latest harvest of mint jelly, but stay tuned for that.
I'm still not a ganjier. I still want to.
I got you. We're gonna be all that stuff. But go, keep going. What you were talking about?
Okay. So, anyways, so for homegrown, like one of the things that I've noticed is like like it's fresher. Like it's straight from the source.
Yeah.
So, it's not treated with anything. For the most part, and it's a very like pure way of smoking. Like it doesn't go through a lot of processes.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the dispensaries, everything's broken up into tiers. You have your top shelf, mid grade, and then you have your swag.
Yeah.
Right.
You're affordable.
You're I'm
cost efficient.
I'm gonna go to a party. I don't want to share all the good stuff with everyone. I'm gonna roll a bunch of these. I don't care if anyone says anything. At least I brought weed to the party, right? Like, you know, like you're not. So like, because your top shelves, they can go like for an eighth. Top shelves can go anywhere from like 60 to. What's max? Like,
I would say like 80? Maybe even a little higher depending on the brand. But yeah, okay. 60 to 80 is, yeah.
And then, you know, your mids would be anywhere from like 30 to 50.
No, we're talking about
like 35 to 50. Yeah, like an eighth.
Okay.
And then this doesn't even take into account like, you know, pre-roll packs or joints or anything like that. Like any kinds of like concentrates or whatnot. This is strictly just flour, right? So I don't normally buy top shelf. Like I always go for somewhere in the middle because I've noticed that, you know, like now a lot of companies are putting like package dates on it, like when it was packaged. Yeah. Right? So I feel that, you know, top shelf is just the freshest weed. You know, like that's just the one that's going to be like the stickiest. That's the one that's going to be
probably the biggest buds.
Yeah, the biggest buds. And then I've noticed that like now they're doing infused flowers. So like sometimes they'll say like top shelf, like there's always a percentage of like how much THC is in it. And what were you saying? Like naturally, like you won't find, you know, anything that goes past.
And this is again from like my YouTube university of listening to the breeders that I watch and podcasts that I've listened to, but it's very, very like high 30s.
High 30s.
From what I've heard, anything over like 30, I think like 32, 35, something like that. Anything really over that.
That sounds about right.
It's like
you're talking about unnatural stuff.
Yeah, like they're adding something.
Like I remember I saw some. I got some of those pre-rolls and it had chicken and waffles on the thing.
Oh,
that was the flavor. No, it wasn't a Jeter. It wasn't Baby Jeter. It wasn't a Jeter. It was another brand. I can't remember the brand, but it had chicken and waffles, right? And I was like, the fuck? How am I gonna do chicken and waffles?
Like why?
But I'm like, you know what? I'll give you my $40 for that chicken and waffles. Let me try. So I opened it up and I swear to God, it smelled and tasted like maple syrup. And I was like, this is not natural.
Yeah, I don't know what oil or what they put on there to make it taste like that, but it's like, no, distillate, not.
And then it said like 40 or 50% THC. And I smoked them and I was like, I guess it wasn't 40. It didn't feel like 40, 50. It felt like.
And sometimes people they're testing, they're not like being honest on it. And it's.
And also like because the dispo weed that we smoked today, it was sprayed or.
It was like a moon rock. So I think it was like probably soaked and then like rolled in.
Yeah. So it said that the THC content was about like 41%.
And I did not. They're like, man, I guess, I'm biased. Okay, I'm biased, but we smoked all those 3 jars of mint jelly, and which was a trip because all those 3 different jars smelled so differently, and they were all the same cultivar, but a totally different smell for each of the different jars and each of the different plants.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Erick's latest harvest.
Right. But then we also smoked that, what was it? What was it? The moon rock from?
Yeah, so that was supposed to be grape ape.
Yeah,
but
that gets lost once you put oil and keef on there.
Yeah, so grape ape is like one of my. It's like one of my favorite strains. Like I love because that's one of the ones where it's supposed to lay people out, but that one is just like, oh yeah, feels good. You know, like I'm chilling.
Because some folks don't fuck with Skywalker, and that's my favorite. Like they're like, oh, it's too strong. I'm like, no, that's my favorite. I love it. I love being so heady and like almost couch locked, but it doesn't couch lock me. That's the thing. Like,
I just get heavy. I get the heavy lids. I got the
just helps my brain move. You know, that's all it does for me. It just helps my brain move right.
So, like I was saying, like I felt that was probably like a mid-grade weed, and then they were just like, okay, how can we make sure this sells? Because
Yeah.
it didn't really hit. Like I feel like if it was the flower itself, it wouldn't have hit as hard.
No, that's why they do that to it, to try and like amp it up a little.
But you don't have to do that. Like I feel like, like with homegrown, a lot of the times it's
but they can get more money for it.
They can,
like
and
if you've got this
also
mid,
takes less time.
Yeah,
because you can grow these mids out. You only have to flower them for 8 weeks, so they're not going to bud really big.
Which who cares? Because you're going to soak them and dust them.
Because you're not going to hand trim them. You're just going to toss them in a machine that separates the leaves from the weed, and so it's like a dryer type of thing. And then so you're going to lose a lot of terps. So what are you going to do? I'm sure you're going to find a way to catch those terps on your thing, and you're going to catch those terps and you're going to try and put them back onto the weed. No,
because I totally understand. Like I know for a lot of pre-rolls, it's whatever the shake is, and then they'll just infuse it with something, and then like that's why like they smoke the way they smoke. They're always harsh, but they'll get you high, right? So for Top Shelf, is Top Shelf worth it? Like
I think so, yeah. Especially if you just like, for me, I love a bong. I love it, and I love with some ice in there. I want to taste it. So I am always just like, I want the Top Shelf. Like if it's infused, I've even become like, I used to not care, but now I'm kind of course, more educated. Mm-hmm. So I tend to really stick to infusions that are rosin or hash based, which means there's no solvents involved
because that's not great for your lungs.
Exactly. So that's why I can't do vapes. And for the longest, I just didn't understand why they made my lungs hurt so bad. Cause I love the ease. I'm a mom, on the go, pop, 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 we're puffing, let's go. But then I was like, God, my lungs just couldn't take it. And then, of course, I learned more, do more research. And it's it's not just cannabis oil that you're inhaling. You're inhaling whatever butane or whatever. They say they take all the solvents out and everything. But I don't know about traces, or I don't know about whatever.
Yeah, you're heating up a liquid.
It's just why put it there if you don't have to?
You're using. You're heating the device, so all the metals in that device,
it's all mixing together.
It gets cold and it's getting hot. It's just chemistry, folks. When it gets hot, it releases microscopic particles. And so you're going to inhale a little bit of that metal.
This mixture. And so for me, it was just I'm just going to stick with, if it's infused, I want it to be with hash or rosin. So then I know I'm not having to worry about bullshit. And it just makes it, the more educated you are, the easier it makes it for you to make a choice. It's especially if you're just if you care more about cost versus whatever, I'm not picky. Then definitely Top Shelf isn't going to matter to you. But for me, I think it's worth it just because it tends to taste better and just be a little bit nicer.
And see, for me, Top Shelf is usually how I go. But unfortunately, when I was buying at the dispo, I was relying on brands and brands that I trusted.
That's what I tend to do, is stick with brands that I trust.
So in that way, you can, for a more affordable way to get Top Shelf, is you can buy the minis, because now all that larf bud that's on the bottom of those big buds.
We have cub nugs. It's like Grizzly Pete calls them.
They need to sell that stuff too. That's a waste to just throw that away, or they can turn it into hash, or they can turn it into rosin.
You can definitely get small buds.
But those small buds are so good because you're still getting that Top Shelf high quality bud from those high quality
those brands that you trust.
But they're just not the big buds that look good in a bag.
So that's why they don't put them in A's.
I've had that experience where you buy something and you're just oh, what is this? It doesn't look nice. But then when you smoke it, it's oh wow,
this does the job.
Yeah, this is the best bang for the buck you could get.
Well, I was standing in line at the dispo the last time I went, and these guys because it's the spot that I go to all the time. Shout out to Exhalants. It's right by the spot, right by my house. Exhalants LA. Not in Burbank. It's in Valley Village, because there's no dispos in Burbank. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, I was in the line at that spot, and I go there all the time. So I was kind of it's kind of like Cheers when I go in there. And the two guys who were in line were kind of newer to the spot, and I suggested buy those minis, because in that spot you can buy a bag of minis for $23. with tax. I think it's 27. Yeah. So, I mean, cheap. An eighth of that, but then it's high quality because it's high quality.
Yeah, it's from the same batches.
It's from the same batch. Yeah. They weren't big enough to fit in the eighth jar.
Yeah, because they have like quality assurance or whatever.
But it's still the same weed. And I'm like, bro, you're going to grind that up into a joint and you're going to smoke that shit. You're not going to look at you can't smoke it as a big bud. You're going to look at that big bud and you're just like, ooh, this is nice.
So nice.
Okay,
grind.
But if you're going to smoke all the time, why are you buying those big buds for? You're good to just buy the minis.
I've got a question then.
Yeah.
If you're buying top shelf weed, what is the max for an eighth that you will pay?
I don't usually go over like 65.
65?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds right.
And if it's gotta like really be like look good, smell good, or be like THC Design has this Crescendo is the strain. I think Crescendo and an XJ13
THC Design has a cereal milk that
their cereal milk is good too. So like bomb. Those are ones where
we're not sponsored by any of these guys.
No, sorry, yeah.
We're just shouting out.
We're just weed connoisseurs that talk about the weed that they like. And but I remember specifically because because THC Design has a distinct logo
with the purple
but I remember smoking their cereal milk and I was like, yo, I would pay money for this.
I've had a good batch from them. I've had was the garlic cocktail.
Yeah. Oh, that was my jam for a long time.
And it does smoke like garlic.
It has that garlicky pungency. It's crazy.
Like I said in one of our later podcast or earlier podcasts, where some top shelf is worth it because the people who are doing that shout out to Wonder Bread. Remember we met him at that spot. Like I bought his weed a lot. It's consistently good because it's craft cannabis. It's the legacy market that was able to transition into this
newer legal
more recreational market. So it's a lot of those growers that were back in the legacy market that still know how to grow bomb ass fire weed, and now they just do it on a larger scale, and it's pretty cool.
See, when I go to dispensaries, because I go to multiple dispensaries, just depending on what town I'm in at that moment, right? And I will always go for the deals because usually if you're a first time customer or it's just that day of the week,
it's Tuesday, so we got a 2 for Tuesday or whatever.
There's whatever it is, right? I will look at the top. I feel that I've gotten to the point where I know what brands I like. I've smoked most of them, and one of the reasons I stay away from top shelf unless it's on sale or unless I could get it for a reasonable price is because there's a lot of top shelf brands I've smoked and they're meh, they're really not
you can say it.
That happens.
I remember we went to Off the Charts and you bought No Till Kings, and it was a little bit more of a pricier weed. I remember that, and you were like, it's okay. It was okay.
It was fine. I don't know
because that was a more expensive eighth, right?
Yeah, it was
65.
It was a 65, but then the only reason I got it was because when I went with you, it was 50% off or whatever.
Okay.
It was.
Well, there you go.
It's because it was a referral thing.
Shout out to Off the Charts. One of the best. The deals are there, especially if you're first time customers. 50% off.
I don't know anymore.
Why?
Yeah, not anymore.
I don't know.
What happened?
No, it's just they don't do that deal no more. So.
No, they actually, their CEO was on, he got caught up because somebody had a video.
For real?
Yeah, somebody had a video.
Oh wow. I haven't been to the dispo in so long. I don't know.
Well, and I just realized because 64 and Hope and Josephine and Billy's both were Black owned, whatever, but now they're both off the charts. So that's kind of how I heard of Off the Charts. But then I saw this video. And the CEO,
don't shout out them then. Let me stop the shout out. Sorry.
But no, I mean, because there's still, it sucks because the owners of the dispensaries are just trying to get their money back. Sure. It just sucks that the CEO said, he basically was on camera having this meeting and said, we don't pay the little mom and pop people because we know they're going to be out of business. So we just don't worry about paying them their money. And we put that money towards other things. And so it was just something where it's and he tried to come out and be like, oh, I shouldn't have said it that way. But of course we pay people. And it's all these people are in the comments they still owe me money. I've been trying to get money from them forever. Where's my money? And so it sucks because you do want to be oh, fuck them. But then it's I have personally met one of the people who owned 64 and Hope, one of their locations. And she's just I'm just out here trying to be a dispensary owner. I get my money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, please don't boycott my store. Like, that guy fucking sucks. But like,
I feel you. So
you know,
it's so hard.
it's
and
a hard.
That's the thing. Now that you got all this, you know, corporate.
All these corporate people getting into it.
Edmund just went out of business, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing because it's corporate
when you don't have a good energy about the plant,
happens.
the plant ain't going to support you. That's really what it all boils down to.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's that because we're on episode 6 now. This will be episode 6 that we upload, and it's, you know, the essence of this podcast is a love for the plant because. You know, and a love and a want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Because a curiosity about it. And, you know, having you on there, like you're a wealth of knowledge. But the trip is that it's vice versa with us with the growing. And how, like, I'm when you texted me about the plants and you said, is this a problem? And I looked at him and I was like, oh my God. Those are dudes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it was about unrelated to it was just like, oh, yeah. What is this thing? Yeah, that's right. You were just like, I can already tell you.
Because you texted me about the stem.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, don't worry about that. That's just getting hard.
Yeah, the stem. Oh, no, it was because I had the mold inside, like on the Velcro. Like, it wasn't on the plant, but I was like, oh, is that bad? Like, what should I do? How do I fix it?
And you know,
you were like, by the way.
You know, was a trip was after you had to deal with mold and mildew. I had to deal with mold and mildew. And I don't think it was like a jinx or anything.
Yeah.
Because I knew that my plants had overgrown that tent and it was blown up and all the leaves were touching each other and it was too condensed. So it got humidity. And so I had to put it outside and spray it with Dr. Zymes. And I sprayed it again with some baking soda to kind of clear off the Dr. Zymes. And no more mildew. All good. And so mildew's in the air. It's going to be here.
Yeah.
There's fungus in the air. There's probably going to be mold again, but it's just a matter of cleaning it. And
I didn't even know that there were flaps to ventilate it, but then I like see this mold and I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, oh, I probably should have had these flaps open. Okay, now I know they're there.
But that's the thing about it is it's all a learning every day.
Yeah.
And I don't know everything at all. But the stuff that I do know,
you're sharing with me so that I can know too.
Yeah.
And then we can smoke sweet nuts.
So I think we should now wind down at the last part. As promised,
wrap it up.
We should. I want to hear the breakdown of the 3 different jars then the 3 different tastes because we did the smell test. And then we did the smoke test.
Okay, hold on. Before that, okay, so just for our audience, we're talking about Erick's latest harvest. It was the mint jelly.
I love it. Thank you for the update. It's from Humboldt Seed Company, Auto Flower. It's a mint jelly Auto Flower. I can't remember.
It was 3 different plants, but all the same strain, right? Like Correct. 3 different plants, all the same strain. But totally different.
Or cultivar as the
yes, that's true. I know. I don't like that. I'm like,
because it just sounds
snooty.
For so long that it's just we're so used to it. It's part of the vernacular.
I don't mind strain,
but I don't mind using cultivar.
Cultivar makes me sound like I'm like
okay. But either way,
no.
Either way,
yes,
3 different.
You grow it. Call it whatever you want.
3 different plants. All that same. So we'll go for number 1, number 2, and number 3, and then we can make the distinction.
So I think that's the problem. I don't quite remember which was number 1 or number 2, but number 3, bitch, I remember. And number 3, no, like 1 and 2 were good. They were fine, but
But 3,
they blend. But number 3, I'm like, yeah, that's my dog. That's my dog.
No, after you hit it, you had like a little bit of an experience. You're like, woo!
That one took me for a ride. That one was good. Yeah. So I mean, the other 2 were good, but it was strange how they had more earthiness, way more earthiness than the 3rd one. Like the first 2 had earthy notes in there, piney, myrcene, beta-carotene, like pepperiness. But then that 3rd one was just citrus. It was just beautiful.
Yeah, I was saying that, like for the smell test. So the first 2, number 1 smelled like, you know how after it rains and like you have that light.
Yeah.
That light, it's
I
not
like
like
that
everything's
smell.
yeah, and not everything like
It's fresh. A
Yeah.
fresh smell. Yeah.
Yeah.
or like in Tagalog sometimes like your family will say, oh, like you smell like araw, you smell like
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah, like,
Oh,
like
okay,
you smell
yes.
like the day. Like you smell like you've been outside all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it smells like that. So
Yeah.
it smells like that, right? The second one,
Oh, that was the one you said smelled like vegetables, right?
yeah, it smelled like vegetables, right? It smelled like vegetables. And then number 2, it had, it reminded me of like a coffee smell. It had like a coffee type of smell.
Okay.
And then number 3, the way that I described it earlier was it smells like Meyer's lemon soap.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
right. You did say that.
Yeah.
And it's like loved it. And it's the one that had the best taste too.
Yeah.
Well, the flavor came through the most.
Yeah,
I
it
would
was
say.
very-
Like they all tasted fine, but like
It
the
does
flavor
have
came
that
through.
citrus.
Yeah.
Like,
And also smoked a little longer, right? Because the first two,
It was a little denser, probably.
They burn quick through
Yeah.
the bong.
So-
Whereas you had to do 2 rounds with the third one.
yeah. So what I did for everyone was like we were smoking out of a bong or a water pipe.
Should we
However-
do the disclaimer, or should we just rely on the fact that it's going to be on the thing?
Well, we've been talking about like.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
Mhm.
All
Guys-
for scientific purposes. only.
Yeah,
That's-
guys. Like, if you're not old enough to smoke, you shouldn't be smoking.
Yeah, we
Let's
shouldn't.
just let's just say that, okay?
Yeah, just say it, just to say it. In live
Unlike me, who
podcast.
was smoking when she was 14.
We don't condone.
And that was the 90s. Things were different
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, I was in Dare, guys. Remember that.
I was calling bullshit in there. I was like, I don't think weed does that. I see it at my family picnics. Hey, I don't know that you know what you're talking about, sir. Like,
Liar.
yeah.
You're a liar.
You're a liar. Anyhow, so yeah, when we smoked it, like we were grinding it up, and then I was packing snappers for everybody, or snaps. And these guys had never heard of what a
Never
snap
heard
was.
of it.
I mean, not
Love
you.
it. No.
But there's so many
I
different
always knew
terms.
terminology.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so I just put it out there. If anyone has never heard of it, a snapper is just it's just like an individual bowl. Or have you guys ever heard of like Percy's? Like
No.
personal bowls?
No.
No,
What?
no.
Okay, if anyone out there has heard of those, like let me know so I feel like I'm not crazy.
It's cool, man. I usually just smoke a joint by myself in the backyard. So I'm not following anything. It's just my joint.
So yeah, so I was just breaking everything up, and then I was just packing like everyone an individual like little
Little
shot-
taste test.
Yeah, a little taste, a little shot of flavor. So we did that for all the jars. I'm kind of with Angie, like 1 and 2, similar feel.
For sure.
Similar vibes.
Very,
Still good.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
still
good.
really
Oh,
good.
for
Still
sure.
really good.
Still really good.
Very light. Like,
Yeah. I
it-
like it because when we first smoked it, because you and I have already shared a joint in
Mhm.
that first jar, and some of the trim, but you said that it's like I want to go clean,
Yeah, it's a very energetic. It's a very get up and go type
which is
of
a
leaf.
trip because the smells that I associate with that third jar are
Yeah.
more of a sativa, more of a
For sure.
uplifting, everyday kind of weed. But then,
But the first jar is the one.
but the
that-
first jars are what make you feel like that.
Yeah.
Where the
Interesting.
third jar is like more of what hit longer.
It's just more,
hit
yeah,
harder,
like a
and you
journey.
could feel it and taste it, and it's hard. And it was a little bit. That's a bit just interesting to me.
It's not. It wasn't harsh. I wouldn't say harsh. Like
No.
that one.
Not harsh. I mean,
It
but,
just
you
hit
know, it's
harder,
like-
yeah.
Just
Oh,
harder.
yeah.
Just harder. Just
No, but
harder.
I think for that one, what it did for me was it made me pump the brakes. You know, like if I could describe it in a certain way, like
Okay.
like the first two definitely were like, oh yeah, let's go do something. Let's go do the podcast, guys. And then the third one was like, hold up, what are we doing?
There's a podcast.
What are we doing?
But we,
Okay.
we
And
did
now I
it.
would say, like, what I'm really excited about is that I have a jar and a half of that third plant.
Mhm.
And what I did with that third plant, since the reaction was so
It was
prevalent,
overwhelming. I
it
mean,
was
yes,
overwhelming.
we loved
and I
that.
was like, well, why don't you guys take this half a jar and divide it between the two of you and take it home? And so that's what happens on the Canna Kuyas podcast is you sample the homegrown, and then if
Then
you
you
hit
take
the
it
right
home.
time of harvest, you take some home with you.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Or
Canna
you
Kuyas.
just miss the Gelato 33 and have to hear about how fucking good it is.
Well,
Oh, no.
Without ever actually getting to try it. But ain't nobody bitter. I'm not bitter. It's fine. No, I'm fine with it. It's
listen. But guess what?
I may have my own.
Those 3 little clones
This is
that
true.
I've given you today which is such a good segue, my God. But those 3 little clones is Gelato 33. So yes, unfortunately, we did smoke all of it before you got a chance to sample. But now you can grow your own. And I feel like the genetics are so strong on that strain that those 3 little plants are going to be 3 big plants in a couple months, and you're going to be able to flower those out, and you're going to have, I feel like that. I don't know about you, but for me, that was some of the best weed I ever smoked.
And
that
weren't
Gelato.
you saying like you pulled them a little too early?
Yeah, because the breeder said, the breeder from the clones, shout out to Buds and Roses, and they've been around for a long time. I bought the clones from them, and they were the ones who actually gave me the Gelato 33 because I didn't want it. I was like, "Oh, give me 3 chili verdes. These sound better." And they're like, "Well, we don't have 3, but we have this Gelato 33, which you should take." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it." And then I grew it out, and again, it was the best weed I ever smoked. And on the breakdown for the breeder, it says 9 to 10 weeks for flowering. I pulled them because the chili verde was ready to go at 8, so I pulled that whole tent at 8.
Oh.
That Gelato that we smoked, which is, again, some of the best weed I've ever smoked in my life, was pulled early.
Okay.
So that whole tent of Gelato now that I have, I'm going to let that go until 9 weeks, 10 weeks. But guess what, guys? I'm smart, and I timed that out for 420 harvest.
Hey.
So stay tuned to the Canna Kuyas podcast for the next harvest of Gelato 33.
Hey.
What's
And also
420?
your harvest of Gelato 33, because we're going to follow that too.
Yeah.
What's 420?
420 is, I think it's Friday, but there's
No,
so
no,
much
I
going
mean,
on.
like,
We just have
what-
so much
what
to
is
tell you
it?
about
Oh,
420.
it's the weed holiday.
Oh, and you know that 420.
Oh.
This fool. That's pothead Christmas.
Oh.
Wait, but you know that this particular, I heard this on another podcast. Shout out to the Dude Grows podcast where I heard this from. I'm not trying to steal anybody's, material, but this particular 420 2024 is going to be an anagram where it's like a 420, all the way to this 2024.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a special 420. And
So
again,
so the planets are going to align and stuff?
bro, I hope
Yeah.
so. I mean,
super high.
Can you imagine that
Really
it's super high where the stars align and I harvest
I'm
the
here
Gelato
for it.
33 at the
And
perfect
it gets you
time?
so high.
And then we all just pass out in my backyard like Mitch did.
Let's go. Pass out for a little bit.
That was one of the scariest moments of my life because I'm like, bro,
I didn't pass out though.
I know you didn't pass out, but you like blacked out a little
It
bit.
wasn't a blackout. I just like I said, like I
You
had
just paused for a moment.
my brain was just like, hold up.
But I've never seen that before with another person. I maybe have experienced that myself and like, oh, my brain just paused. But I never saw another person. It looked like you passed out because you don't know what you look like from outside of you.
I've seen people pass out. Like I've seen people like straight up pass out. Like
I know, but I'm just saying that it's good weed.
no, it was, and that's why. Like my brain just had to reset. It was just like, what is this? And then like.
Again, and that's why I feel like this might be a magical time, guys. So stay tuned to the Canna Kuyas podcast. Stay tuned because you're going to have Angie coming back and giving her updates on her grow. Because that's one of the goals of this podcast is to get everybody to start growing their own, especially if you're smoking. Every day you should be growing your own and smoking your own because you're never higher than when you smoke your own.
We want to say a big thank you to our special guest today, Ms. Angie
Thanks for
Stocker.
having me.
Dropped so much knowledge, the terpenes and all this, and finally explained the endocannabinoid system on the podcast.
I thought Erick was just making shit up.
He sometimes does.
He does.
This time, no.
This time, all right. Where can people find you at, Angie?
You can find me on Instagram at Highly Angie. You can check out my website, highlycrafty.com. I've got a blog there with all sorts of fun things to check out and read. And yeah, YouTube channel, Highly Crafty.
And also stay tuned here to the Canna Kuyas podcast because
I'll be back.
Highly Angie is going to be highly back all the time.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see how her growing process goes.
I'm excited.
We'll see how her journey continues. So, everyone, you've been listening to the Canna Kuyas podcast. I'm Mitch Narito.
And I am Erick Esteban.
And we are the Canna Kuyas. And Angie is a marijuana ate.
Hey, here she is.
So, thanks for listening, everybody. Please like, subscribe, leave us a review. Help us get the word out. I don't feel like there are a lot of guys that talk about what we talk about.
And especially all the knowledge that we dropped just now. This podcast, so much podcast, so much Canna knowledge from the Canna Kuyas. So stay tuned for more, y'all. We're gonna have more guests like Angie, and me and Mitch are going to have so many adventures with this wonderful plant. So stay tuned, stay lifted, stay elevated, and always be sure to smoke before you listen to this podcast.
Yes, you tell them after the fact. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Peace.
Fuck the violence, man, check my mileage, cause I got driving. First tour, I drove 6 states, never thought I'd be there right by my side, man. What a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, build an enterprise, move supersize. Y'all let you like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too dope, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.
Highest in the room, yo, we get fucked up. Ay, you can count on Trey Cap, bring the loud pack. Ay, get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run. Yeah, get the up or leave the fucker Folgers. Little bitch, I made the beat and dropped the full verse. I just hit a steelo, I got dripped up. Package born and raised, bitch, I got dripped up. Y no se compara. Yo estoy con mi pana, se llama Drake, fumando ganja. Estamos con Cali, fumando en Cali, yo sé que traen ganas. Ella me dice, papi, que terminamos la cama. Highest in the room, yeah, we get fucked up. You can count on Trey Cap, bring the loud pack. Get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run.
We got hits like Tatis and Machado, man, we know you're not a leader. Cause all our moves you just follow, packing big bowls. You know we just scooped up that gelato, cause I smoke killer. My shirt iller, yo, ask our dealer, we the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too dope, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer,